Welcome to the Navigating Dental Insurance Podcast, where we don't take from insurance companies. Here are your hosts, Mr. Jordan Comstock and Mr. Ben Tuine. This podcast is sponsored by BoomCloud Dental Membership Software, www.boomcloudapps.com, and Veritas Dental Resources, www.veritasdentalresources.com. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Navigating Dental Insurance Podcast. I am your co-host today, Jordan Comstock, and I got Ben Tuine on the line driving in California in a big truck. Ben, what's up, man?
What's up, Jordan? Man, doing well. How are you?
Doing good, man. You're going out to speak today, right? In California?
Yeah.
Did I say California? I meant Colorado, if I said California.
Yeah, I'm in Denver. I'm in the heart of Denver now in traffic, headed to Westminster to speak at a Nobel Biocare sponsored event.
Awesome, man.
And it's going to be my first time giving my my Art of War presentation.
Oh, all right. Yeah. That's a good one.
We're kicking off that theme, considering that in 2 days my article will be appearing in Dental Economics. Hopefully it's a featured article this year. I worked hard on that article. Whenever I submit articles, I always intend for it to be on the cover page. So hopefully it's on the cover page this year.
Well, every article that you've ever submitted hasn't been on the cover page, so I don't think you're going to have a problem with that.
Yeah, I'm crossing my fingers. It's always nice when it's on the cover page.
So the Dental Economic, that's going to come out in November, right? Or end of November?
November 1 is the articles, it's a featured article for the November edition.
Nice.
And I got a sneak peek of the image and all that, but I didn't get a sneak peek of the entire magazine just yet.
Was the image you doing the haka? I'm just curious. Dang it! You would have totally made the front cover of the page if it was you doing the haka, dude.
I need to lose some more pounds to get ripped for that. But that's a 2019 goal right there.
2019 goal. That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome, brother. Okay, well, today I have an awesome guest. His name is Trent Reed. He's a partner from Economics Partner. And just to give you a little background, I met Trent through one of my good friends and advisors of my company here at BoomCloud. And Trent actually helped me with evaluation of my practice. I recently bought out some of my business partners because it was time, and Trent actually helped me with that. And Trent was so helpful. I'm like, man, I got to bring Trent on the show. He can help a lot of other businesses and dental practices out there. So, Trent, welcome to our show, man.
Thank you much. Good to chat with you guys.
Yeah, man. So
likewise, Trent.
Tell us how did you get involved in like the valuation world of business?
Yeah. So my background out of college was going into investment banking, and in investment banking, that was much larger transactions, but valuation was always a piece of it, where you're trying to help ascertain the right value for a business you're trying to sell, or a business that you're helping represent someone in trying to acquire. And so valuation was a piece of the puzzle. Financial modeling and transaction modeling was another piece. And I continued to do investment banking for a while, jumped into a little bit of helping companies run, went back to business school, back into investment banking, and then helped grow and sell a couple of companies as their chief financial officer.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was looking for a business to buy. And if a finance person is going to buy a business, I kind of figured it might make sense for it to be a finance-based business.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so I figured one of my strengths was knowing how to determine the value of a business, both having done it as an investment banker and done it a bit, helping grow and sell some of the businesses with which I was involved. So that was the catalyst. I looked around, found one that we felt like we could grow, and a partner and I bought it, and we've been growing it ever since.
Awesome, man. So like I said, Trent helped me with my evaluation and was extremely helpful there, and definitely helped educate me on the process there. So today we wanted to bring Trent on and ask him some questions to help a dental practice go through evaluation and understand kind of what it takes and just the details of that, because at least for me, it's fascinating. I didn't quite understand how it worked until I went through. I mean, I still don't, Trent, but but I understand it a little bit more, which has been really very good information for me, at least as a business owner. So, Trent, what are the main factors that increase of the value of a dental practice?
Great. So really the main factors that increase the value of a dental practice, transfers reasonably well to the factors that increase the value of any business. If you're looking at a business and thinking of buying it, even if you came out of dental school and are looking to buy an existing practice rather than building one from scratch, the things that you care about are, how reliable are the revenues that are coming into this business or into this practice. And so, you're going to think about, well, how dependent are they on individual dentists? And if it's a retiring dentist that you're taking over for, what's the level of churn that you might want to, consider or be wary of? And so, practices that are a single location that may rely heavily on an individual or a couple of individuals' personalities tend to get slightly lower multiples because of those risks. And as you get into kind of small groups, maybe 5 to 10 offices, those multiples go up. And if you get into large DSOs, the multiples get a little higher. And when I say multiples, we're saying, the same way that, if you think about a house, people will think about buying a house and they'll say, well, what's the cost per square foot, right? Well, if you're thinking about buying a business, then you're thinking about what's the price of buying this business relative to the free cash flow that this business generates. Or another way that a lot of times people will think about it in the dental world is a percentage of collection. So if you collected $1 million last year, then they tend to range between 60 to 80% of previous year's collections.
So is that called like a discounted cash flow?
Well, it's a little bit different, but good point. Yeah. So there's more than one way to triangulate in on the value of a business. And so one way is to just look at multiples, and another way is to do a discounted cash flow analysis. And a discounted cash flow analysis is, hey, I'm going to look at this business, and the value of anything isn't necessarily what it's generated in the past, it's what it can generate for you in the future, right? I mean, a Lamborghini could be, very expensive off the lot, but if it's been wrecked, then you're not going to pay the same price for it.
Absolutely.
But if it's been upgraded, you may even pay more for it, right? So,
of course.
So that's the same thing with a dental practice or any business. You look at it and say, okay, that's great that's what you've done in the past, and that's a reasonably good indicator for me of what it may do in the future. But I'm going to put together my own sort of forecast of what I think the financials look like in the future, and then discount those financials back to today for the risk of achieving those financials. And the discount rate they're using is kind of related to overall market risk, or there might be structural risk specific to this practice. And structural risk may be, well, it's got a horrible business manager, or the location isn't that good, or their equipment needs to be updated. And so things that you look at that give you specific concern may go into you kind of increasing that discount rate that you want to discount the future cash flows by to get comfortable with the valuation. So that's a discounted cash flow analysis. It's like, for any finance person, it's the most pure way to determine the value of a business. Is, hey, the value of any business is the present value of its expected future cash flows, discounted for the risk of getting those cash flows.
I see.
But multiples serve as kind of a market check against that, where you're like, it's hard for me to forecast that, but I'm going to look at what other people have done in the past when they buy businesses, and the metrics that they use are probably a proxy for how they thought about the future cash flows of those businesses. And so one way to do that, one metric is, a percentage of previous year's collections. And so people will look at that of like, hey, a dental practice is probably worth somewhere between 60 to 80% of its previous year's collections. And that's a pretty big range, but what's going to make it gravitate to one end or the other end or the middle of that range will be the pros and cons of that specific practice. I mean, are you in an area that has good demographics for the future? Are you in an area that's got a good location? Does it have nice curb appeal? Does it rely too much on any individual personalities? And you'll go through kind of that checklist of the things that would make something seem attractive versus unattractive. And if it's unattractive, then you should buy it for less. You should buy it for maybe more like the 60% of its cash flows. If it's too unattractive, you should walk away from it, right?
Yeah. So when you say
go ahead.
When you say cash flows, is it like is it gross revenue?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said cash flows there, and so good catch.
Oh, okay.
Up to 60 to 80% of its collections.
Okay. So
collections.
Which would be gross. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so that's gross. And then if you're talking about cash flows, kind of the free cash flow that it generates for its owners, then for a single location, you're probably going to pay about 4 or 5 times that. So let's just take a single location that maybe is doing $1 million in revenue or $1 million in collections, then maybe it's worth $700,000, which might represent that's 70% of the collections, and maybe that $700,000 is the equivalent about 4 times the free cash flow that business was generating. And then as you get into something that's doing more like $1.5 million, then maybe it's worth more like 75% of that, and maybe it's more like 5 times its 5 times its cash flows. And as you get into small groups that are more like 5 to 10 offices, now you might be paying more like 5 to 7 times its free cash flow that collective small group is generating for its owners.
Okay.
And then as you get into large DSOs, now you're spending more like 8 to 12 times the free cash flow that it's generating. And,
wow.
And a lot of that is because, it's the same thing as we were talking about a discounted cash flow analysis. Mm-hmm. The larger your group, if you got a large DSO, then your risk is a bit more mitigated as it's hedged across multiple office locations. And so you're able to, diversify your risk, and you're willing to pay a bit more for that.
Very cool. No, super interesting. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. Well, I think this is actually in the same realm of like increasing value, but I want to know your thoughts on, so what we do at Boom Cloud, which you're familiar with a little bit, we help practices create in-house membership programs, right, where they can, they're able to generate a predictable recurring revenue stream where patients pay like monthly and yearly like subscription fees to the practice to get benefits and discounts to the practice. What, from your experience out there, Trent, what does predictable recurring revenue do to a business in general?
So the easiest way to think about that is because what you're doing is pretty unique and novel for within the dental world, and so that's great. And so I don't have a lot of case studies to point to where I can say, well, this dental practice that adopted is able to sell for this premium. But what I can say is out in the general marketplace, what you see is sometimes you'll look at the multiples that people are paying, and an area where you can see this is in public markets where there's public like software as a service companies, and you'll see the multiples that they're trading on of revenue, for instance, and say, wow, that's a really high multiple. Why would somebody pay such a high multiple? And the reason they would pay it is because they have stable recurring revenue with a low churn rate.
Yes.
And so
which is for those practices out there don't know what churn is, it's cancellation or attrition rate. Right, Trent? Okay.
Exactly. And so churn within a dental practice would be, we get patients, but then they don't become sticky patients. They go to somebody else because they didn't have a good experience, or whatever the case may be. If your patient retention rate is much higher, then that's a good retention rate and a low churn rate. So dental practices will go out of their way with their marketing to make sure that, the dental practice that I go to, I get text messages reminding me about appointments and reminding me to be sure to set appointments. And so anything you can do to kind of wrap your arms around your patients and have them, coming in frequently when they're supposed to, and getting as much of their wallet share as you can is a good thing. And so again, back to that discounted cash flow analysis, you think that the value of a business is the present value of its expected future cash flows discounted for the risk of those cash flows. Well, anything you can do to mitigate the risk of achieving those cash flows is a positive thing.
Yes.
And so if you can make those cash flows feel like they are pretty stable recurring revenue, then along the lines of when I said, if I'm diligencing the potential purchase of a dental practice, I'm going to want to see how much of that revenue is potentially tied to an individual personality, that as soon as that personality walks out the door, so do those patients. And so if I can establish a means of making those patients more of a stable recurring revenue source because I know they're coming back, then that gives the buyer comfort that they can expect those future cash flows to occur. And so the discount rate that they need to use is a lower discount rate, which means a higher value. So the more you can give comfort about the stability of future cash flows, the more valuable that asset is.
Love it. No,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's exactly what, that's exactly what I knew you were going to say. But I love it. I would love, real quick, Ben, and then I'll let you ask a question. But Trent, I would love to maybe work with you on a case study if and this is kind of side talk here on the podcast, but I'd love to potentially work with you on a case study there, because I think that would be kind of interesting to see in the dental space.
Yeah, absolutely. Now the thing that, with a case study, the hard data would be if there's a practice that has implemented this, seeing it all the way to an actual sale, because certainly we could conduct a valuation, and our valuation would be our opinion, but it'd be great to see an actual sale where a buyer came in and bought it and paid a bit of a premium because they saw it. Now that's exactly what we would expect to happen.
Yeah.
But if we were to come in and just do it with our opinion, that's great, and it would impact our opinion certainly, and would impact the discount rate and that sort of thing. But the real proof in the pudding would be being able to point to actual sales where somebody had to lay down their money and they laid down extra money because of it. So
because that's basically proof that there's a market for buying a practice like that, is what you're basically saying, right?
Yeah, that would be that's in a perfect world. Yes.
Yes. Very cool. Awesome. All right, Ben, did you have a question? I think I felt like I cut you off.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Oh, by the way, it's snowing here in Denver. I had
you're so lucky.
That's why I got the truck. When I was in the Hertz, the shuttle, the guy said, the driver said that it's going to snow 3 inches tonight.
Ugh.
And so lucky for me, I go to the gold section of Hertz, and there's a big truck there. I'm like, I'm taking that. 4-wheel drive.
Yeah. You don't want to drive a muscle or a sports car in that weather.
That's right. But hey, Trent, I had a quick question. So let's say you have two practices that are $1 million. They collect $1 million a year. Both right next to each other. One is a PPO practice where 90% of the patients are on a PPO plan that the practice is in network with. And then the other practice right next door, only 10% of the patients are PPO and the rest are fee for service. Which one carries more risk?
That's a great question, and I would probably have to dig down a little bit into what you've seen and what market participants have seen. But my immediate reaction would be that if it's pay per service and you're in a demographic area that almost any area, I guess, because anytime that you have to actually part with cash in a more tangible way, you'd probably, my hypothesis would have more resistance to parting with that cash, whereas the insurance is a little less, maybe less painful at the individual point of sale. And so I would imagine that the greater risk would be the pay per service one, and that one would likely have a lower value unless I'm kind of misunderstanding the dynamics.
Yeah, no, I think, and I don't know the answer to that question, but I know that a lot of listeners have that on their minds. The statistics on active patients that have insurance, whether it's a self-funded or fully insured dental plan, roughly 67% of them are not, they don't use a dentist every year. So you have a pool of 33 to 40% of people with fully insured that have insurance that actually use their benefit. And then there's a large contingent of people that don't have insurance. And, I don't know if there have been any studies that haven't been able to find a good one, but my best educated guess would be that if I don't have insurance, I am less likely to go in for routine care as opposed to those that do have insurance. And that's one of the reasons why Jordan's membership plan is really key is, you're not only creating reoccurring revenue, but you're giving patients that opportunity to think about their dentistry throughout the course of the year. The 33% of the active patients that have dental insurance are more likely to go in multiple times in the year and do regular hygiene. The other 67%, from what I've seen, they don't go in every year. They may go in every other year, though, but they still use their benefit at some point, one point or another. And so to me, I think you're spot on there with your logic that a fee-for-service practice where most of the patients are uninsured, number one, great opportunity for a membership plan. But to me, as a buyer, just knowing what I know about how activity works among people with insurance and without insurance, I think you're right. I think I would probably find more risk in the practice that has a very small portion of insured patients.
Well, and it boils down to this, Ben, right? Patients have a benefit mindset, right? So they think they need to go to the dentist if they have a benefit plan, right? Whether it's insurance or a membership plan. But if those patients aren't part of insurance or maybe aren't even part of a membership program to get them coming in on a regular basis, then you're absolutely right. They probably won't. That practice would be a little bit more riskier because there's no predictability there. The benefit plans, whether it's a membership program or even insurance, it really does help the patient come back into the office. And that's what Trent was saying. The more you can get the patient to come back and spend their money in the practice predictably, right, the more valuable the practice. So, I think that's spot on.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, myself as a case study, and I shouldn't be, admitting this on a podcast to potential, many dentists, but I went years and years not going into the dentist just because my teeth looked good and they felt good, and I was taking good care of them. And finally, I can't remember who it was, probably my wife or somebody gave me crap about, like, you really should go in and at least see if you have cavities, because she goes in and tends to have cavities. And so finally I went in and didn't have any cavities, but it was good that I went in, and the dentist that I went into here in Utah, now I get these text messages, and I went from somebody that pretty much never remembered to go to I'm like Pavlov's dog going in every 6 months because I get the text message that says, "We're expecting you this day. Reply yes if you're planning on it." So anytime you can have touch points with somebody to drive behavior of something they know they should be doing anyway, it's probably a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, Ben, I'm uninsured. I don't know, Trent. Are you insured with dental insurance when you didn't go for 5 years? Did you have?
During that time, I'm sure I was insured. I just didn't remember to do it.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So even the insured forget to go to the dentist. But I am uninsured, and I actually only go like once a year, Ben. Is that bad?
That's more than I do. I figure that talking to dentists every day, I get dental care through osmosis, or not
me too.
Osmosis, but
just
by
just being close to the dental industry. Yeah. Well, and my wife is a dental assistant, so she'll look at my teeth. Obviously, she's not a dentist; she can't diagnose me, but she'll look and say, "Hey, you probably should go see the dentist for that." You're right. And then all of her sisters and cousins are hygienists, so I just have them clean my teeth on family dinner night.
Oh wow! Open your mouth, Jordan.
Yeah, open your mouth. Yeah,
scrape away.
Yeah. So awesome. Let's get back to you, Trent. What mistakes have you seen from a dental practice? when they go to sell their practice, what are the common mistakes that you see out there?
Yeah, so I would say that the common mistakes are, again, types of mistakes that you would see in any small business, and it's maybe undervaluing the benefit of good data, because anytime you can have data that feels rock solid and defensible, it inspires confidence in the potential buyer that they can rely on what they're looking through. And so if you're handing over a stack of papers in a mess and it's unorganized and there's conflicting pieces of data, then that's going to make somebody discount in their mind how much they can count
Trust
on
that data.
What else is going on. And so I think there's a value to very good data about your patients, your financials, your expenditures. If everything is well documented and organized, then it's going to inspire confidence. I think delaying CapEx can be something that is beneficial to your individual cash flows during the course of running your practice. But when you go to sell it, if somebody feels like they're going to have to do a complete refresh of your equipment, then that's a big expense that's going to weigh heavily on the price that they're willing to pay, because they have to factor in all of the expense that they're about to incur.
Yeah.
And so anything that as you think about a business, you need to think about, well, what would I want? What would I care about? You put yourself in the shoes of the buyer, and you want comfort that the cash flows are going to be there, comfort the patients are going to be there, and you want great equipment. So though it might be painful along the way, making sure that you're taking care of some of that administrative stuff, and making sure that you're keeping your tools of the trade up to speed with the latest equipment, it's going to pay a dividend at the time when it's time to sell the practice, because that's what you would be looking for yourself if you were thinking of buying a practice.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, when I used to manage my dad's dental lab, Trent, most our listeners know that. And I remember there was a time where my dad and grandpa ran it together, and I helped manage it. And my grandpa did not want to invest into new technology, right, whatsoever. And it does two things. It gets you really behind in the market, right? Because patients know when a practice does not have the latest technology, right? Patients see all the machines, that can cut crowns in the dental office while you're waiting and things like that, right? Patients see that. So that's another thing, right? That the patients see the value of that as well, not just getting a valuation to sell the practice. It's also seen by patients. But I remember as I was at the dental lab, my grandpa never wanted to invest into new technology because he was just old school and he didn't really think digitally like the labs were at the time, and it made running our lab very challenging, right? So investing into new technologies is also good just to make it easier to do dentistry, and then it also has that benefit of adding value to the practice as it comes to valuation or when it comes time to sell. So yeah, I agree with that 100%. Cool. Let's see. What I forgot to ask this question, Trent. Unless we talked about it, what factors can hurt the value of a practice, like specific ones?
So I think that what we talked about just now probably overlaps a little bit with that.
Yeah, true.
That what can be a mistake in selling it is the same kind of thing that can hurt in valuing it. And so if you were thinking along the lines, when does a valuation of my practice come up other than an actual sale of the practice? Well, frequently you'll have a partner, and if you're thinking of taking on another partner, then you're going to want that partner to buy in. And so you want to figure out, well, what's the fair price at which this person should be buying in?
True, yeah.
Well, those same types of things that we just discussed that are mistakes made in creating value in the sale of your business can be also mistakes made if you need to bring in a valuation firm like ours to conduct evaluation, maybe for a partnership buy-sell situation, or maybe you're planning on, for some of your trust and estate planning, you're going to move some of the ownership in your practice into a trust. You'll get a valuation, and if that valuation is done by someone like us, and it turns out that there is some of these issues, that you send us financials and they're kind of a mess and don't feel very reliable, or the metrics on I want to say clients, but on patient retention are not great, or you've been delaying CapEx, and so the assets are all fully depreciated, and we're thinking, oh, this is kind of going to be a dated practice. All of those things can play into a lower value at the time of doing evaluation for any of those reasons. So whether it's for an exit, or whether it's for, when I say exit, the sale of your practice, or whether it's for taking on a partner, or being bought out as a partner, those types of things will impact the value.
Okay, awesome. No, I think this has been awesome information for our listeners. Hopefully, if you own a practice, you're listening, or a part owner of a practice, you understand, what it takes to make your practice valuable, and not to do the things that make it not valuable, right? So, Trent, if any of our listeners out there are interested in learning more about you, and or maybe even have questions about practice, or need evaluation, or anything on that financial realm of what you cover, where can they find your information? Do you have a website they can go to, or an email?
Yeah, they could definitely find our firm's website is econ, like economist, ECON partners.com.
Okay.
So ECONPARTNERS.com. And you can navigate to find me on that. And then my email address is Trent, TRENT.Reed, READ, at econpartners.com. So they could shoot me an email, or they could just go to our website, read things that are on the site, and fill out a web form. Whichever way they'd like to reach out would be great.
Awesome, man. Okay, well, before we end the show, do you have any final thoughts or tips for practices out there?
Final thoughts or tips? That's a very broad question. Be excellent to each other and party on.
Yeah.
From Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Totally.
No, I mean, I think that the prevailing principle, and I may be, acting redundant here a little bit, but the prevailing principle is to increase the value of your business. You're doing the things that would make it more valuable to yourself, right? I mean, you put yourself in the shoes of a potential buyer, and you say to yourself, well, what would I want? I would want clean financials. I would want recurring revenue. I would want proof that customers are sticky and that I'm getting the maximum wallet share that I can out of them. And I'd want proof that, that they're not, overly attached to an individual dentist, but it's more, you've successfully, branded the practice, and they like the brand, and they like coming back independent of who's taking care of them. I'm not trying to take like the relationship out of it too much, but the more that you can have comfort that I feel good about the future of this business in different hands as far as ownership, the more you'll be willing to pay, because you have confidence in the future cash flows. Yeah,
I agree with that.
Great advice.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, well, Ben, any final thoughts from you, man?
No, sir. Trent said it well.
Trent did say it well. Okay, everybody, thanks for listening to this episode. We hope you find value in it. No pun intended. And and we will see you guys on our another episode.
Sounds good. Take care, guys.
Rock and roll.